A while back I got rear-ended by a parked car. It left a little bit of a dent in the back of my van. Very unsightly. If you drive around at all long enough, chances are you've got some similar dents or scratches. Well, currently I'm off on the world's longest road trip, so it's up to us to fix that dent and paint on the van ourselves. Let's take a look at how we're going to do it. First, we got to clean off the surgery area. I just finished driving across some states, so it's pretty dirty. I also pulled off any of the big paint chips that were falling off, but not a lot of them, and I didn't strip the whole area, just any that would cause uneven spraying. Here we've got some painter's tape. Masking tape also works. Any of the tape that won't leave a residue would be fine, I'd imagine. We want to cover the sides of the area where we're going to paint so that we have crisp sides and we don't get paint on things like the taillights or the bumper or anything like that. I have my dad demonstrating this technique while I film. After one layer of tape, we cover the lights and whatnot with newspaper. This will block it off from getting covered with paint, which is of course what we don't want to happen. The newspaper is kind of sandwiched in between these two layers of tape, if you understand what I mean. This makes it easier to peel off in one big chunk. We want to block off the entire surrounding area. The best practice for painting is like 80% prep, 20% painting. This is the time-consuming part, but it will make all the difference between good and bad results. If you think this looks bad, you should have seen the other guy. No, I'm just kidding. I backed into a side wall, and that wall didn't take any damage. This is why I need one of those rear-facing cameras. Here's the painting technique. It's light strokes in one direction, like demonstrated. Lingering too long in one spot is going to cause you clumping and dripping, and you want your paint to be like airbrushed on. Let's start with everyone's favorite primer, Rust-oleum. Here we see the artisanal painter in action. You also see why when you paint in this style and distance from the subject that you want to go a bit overboard with all your newspaper covering. It really helps, especially if it's windy. It's beautiful. The lighting here is pretty good. You can't even tell that it's dented due to the uniformness of the paint job. It just kind of all blends together when there's no shadows. This is what paint we're using. My van is Oxford White from the Ford, and I carry around this can of paint alongside that tiny little paint pen for little chips. You'll want to do several light layers. A lot of the problems when people paint is that they want to apply too much paint, too many coats, in too short a time. Always go light on each coat and let it dry fully. That's going to be the number one thing. That'll save your project most of the time. Here's our patient recovering from the operation. It looks like it was a success. Let's unwrap the bandages and see the results. This is quite the ASMR, wouldn't you say? You want to go slowly so you don't rip off the paint chips and whatnot. It's also easier when everything comes off in one big piece and you're not trying to scrape off newspaper and tape like a scratch off. It's really good from afar.
This is a line you can use. This is what I use.
What's that?
It looks I call it a 10-footer.
Yeah, 10 feet away.
10 feet away, it's perfect.
And in even less than 10 feet away, it looks great. The color difference is where we clean that dirt away, not where we painted. So the paint blends in great. We painted along these natural lines of the van and the geometry. Now it's actually like 8 months later since that video. In fact, I think I'm even parked in the same spot. I think that's funny. I'm over here visiting. But you can see, it looks pretty good. I mean, we've got a little bit of wear and tear, and it looks a little bubbly because it was super humid outside. But overall, you can barely tell. This is what I mean when I said we painted along the edges, the geometry stuff. So far away, you can barely tell. It even looks like it's part of the thing. But you can tell it's pretty dirty. I just got back from a long trip. Eventually, I'm just gonna get the whole thing fixed, but right now it was a good video content, good thing to learn how to do. I think it looks pretty good, especially from far away. You could never tell. I'm trying to make a video today, guys, but I'm having errors with Premiere. And my media's offline and it's glitching. It's a real bummer. This is old footage too, so what I'm doing is I just collected it all into a timeline, and then I'm gonna dub over it. This is when I was fixing the dent in the van. Of course, I think my computer is overheating because it's a poor old computer, and I can't get this to work. Won't even load the media. So I think I have a solution for overheating computers. I'm such a good guest that I'll also fill back up the ice tray. Probably don't want to get icy water on my computer though. Alright, well, I'm still editing the video and it's working a little bit better. I might have to go put it back in the freezer when I go to render. So I love the Surface Pro 4, but the problem is that there's no way to open it up and clean out like the dust, and the dust accumulates and then it increases the temperature, and then they have built-in thermal throttling, which means it cuts down all the processing power and everything like that, so then it's perpetually overheating, perpetually locked up, and then I can't edit my videos. When I first got this, I was even able to edit 4K with barely any hiccups, and now I can barely do, you know, any type of editing without, I mean, I'll even have some problems playing videos every once in a while. You can just see a little intro. But that's why I'm sitting here in the freezer, just letting it cool down a bit, so we'll come back and finish up the recording. If you guys think these videos are interesting at all, the amount of videos I produce is directly proportional to the amount of views that I get, since I don't run ads or anything, and it's not money making. It's just for the passion, for all of you guys, because you're all my friends. So like and subscribe if you would. I will see you guys next time. Thank you for hanging out with me.